And happy holidays and best wishes to you and yours at this most joyous time of year. How are you?
I wish you good health.
I know. I don't know what it is.
My theory, it's stress. The holiday stress has gotten to you.
I don't feel like I'm somebody who gets stressed out, but maybe I don't even
You
know.
don't feel it, but your body does.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, your body is acting out because you won't let you're too tough. You're like, I'm not stressed. I'm not. Who cares about this stuff? I got it all figured out. And then all of a sudden you're at urgent care.
Yeah. Well, I would prefer that to what WebMD says, which is I only have 2 days left.
Yeah, so WebMD is always tumor.
Yeah, always. I think it's IBS.
It's like you're like I have a heel pain, and they're like it's a brain tumor.
Number one killer for men over 55. Stress.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think Costa Rica would make you less stressed?
I'm worried that I go to Costa Rica and then I have some kind of a medical emergency.
Yeah.
And I don't know. No disrespect to Costa Rica, but I don't know about the doctors and their qualifications.
Or mid-flight.
Well, I saw this.
Oh God.
I didn't see this on TikTok. It was more
You're
of
a goner then.
More of an Instagram hack. Get yourself right now vacation insurance, because if you go someplace, I'm dead ass, you go someplace, and then you have to go over there and you don't have like vacation insurance, you'll be down bad. I just saw some lady who
and I'm sure, speaking of insurance, that they'll cover everything. That you'll get all that money right away.
Does that work if you find yourself in like an Amanda Knox situation? Does it cover your attorney?
Good point.
Telling you, vacation insurance, man, and it's cheap too. They got policies out there that are cheap, but get it now. You cover you for when you're, out of the country. Help you out.
Before we get to the one team around here that we have very little issue with, where are you currently on Gerard Mayo and the future at that position here in New England?
So I will say that I felt like Sunday was a turning point for me. And you can say that I'm late to the party on what I'm about to say. But I think that you should exercise patience overall with a rookie head coach, especially when you pair him with a rookie quarterback and the roster that New England did, and that you were a year early on your plan and exiting Bill out. But I do feel like the way that everything unraveled, not just on the field, but in the post game on Sunday, was so disappointing that it was the first time that I looked at the situation here with the coaching staff and said, even if you clean house completely around Mayo, it just feels like he would have to make a real jump next season to even get anywhere in meaningful progress. Right. Like, I don't think that you'd be in the playoffs next season around a winning record, but like, can you win 7 games next season? Could you even be around 8 and maybe be a fringe playoff team? The way that I came off of feeling Sunday with all the, you said it, not me. I just thought that was a really, really low point for him and for the coaching staff overall.
And you'd have to be a fringe playoff team with Vrabel, because if you only have 4 or 5 wins, then aren't people going, well, maybe Vrabel's not the right guy, right? And don't we go down that road again?
So I think it's easy to look at the schedule and to look at the record and say, like, you are what your record says you are. But I kind of feel like this team is worse than the record says they are. Like, when I came off of Sunday, I looked at it and I was like, I don't even know how they won 3 games.
You had 2 weeks to get ready for that.
Yes. Everything, it's not just you are what the record says you are. The context around it actually feels worse. And that's where I think, even if you say, okay, well, if Vrabel was the coach or somebody else was the coach next season and you only have 7 wins or 6 wins, did it make sense to veer away from the Mayo plan? Well, as much as winning the games is what ultimately counts and getting into the playoffs and getting back to the Super Bowl, you also have to look at the direction of the team and the franchise overall. And it feels like we moved backwards this season.
Which is weird, because I think if you were to ask Gerard Mayo and he had some truth serum, I think he would say that he feels the record is worse than what the team actually is. I think he would point to the fact that they lost some of these games in overtime or by only 1 touchdown.
Yeah, you said that before.
Yeah, so I think that while the fans, I agree with you. I feel like the team feels worse than what their record is. I bet Gerard Mayo would tell you that they're better.
And he deserves some of the blame, but the biggest person is Elliott Wolf. That's the guy you should move on from.
Yeah,
because
I agree.
If you bring Vrabel in and you stick with Elliott Wolf and then you don't bring any talent, because Mayo's made mistakes. I agree with you, Greg, and we've kind of we go back and forth. But your team has zero talent other than the quarterback and Christian Gonzalez. And Barmore's been hurt for the majority of the year. But that's it. And that is clearly on Elliott Wolf's plate. He put nothing around Gerard Mayo, and he might be the guy who's like, we don't want to start Drake May in week one.
Yeah. All right. Well, the NBA has a cup champion. What, if anything, can the Celtics glean from this?
So the Bucks won last night over the Thunder, and I actually think it's great for the Celtics. I think it's so great for the Celtics because I think it was even last week that I came on here and I said, I have an 85% confidence meter in the Celtics winning the championship again, but I got to see them against the Thunder. And we still haven't seen them against the Thunder. They're going to play them in January. But the way that OKC fell apart against the three-point shooting from Milwaukee last night, I think is extremely indicative of how those teams, the Celtics and the Thunder, could match up against each other should they meet in the NBA Finals. I thought OKC looked like a young team who spun a little out of control in the second half and didn't know how to handle the Bucks' three-point shooting, which is mostly Dame Lillard. They outshot them 51-15. Now, if you look at the three-point shooting that the Celtics have, which is far and beyond anybody else in the NBA right now, as irritating as it might be to you, if you want another Boston championship, I think we saw a little bit of the roadmap last night, and it should be a big confidence boost for the Celtics. I don't look at it and say, ooh, Milwaukee's really scary. Like, we got to look out for Milwaukee. I looked at it and said, the Thunder still have a lot of stuff to work out, and you just got a little bit of an indication of how you could beat them should you meet them in the finals.
Right, and you're spot on when it comes to the three-point shooting. It really is Dame Lillard and maybe a sprinkle Brook Lopez in every now and then.
It's not Giannis.
But the Celtics, that's what they do. You know, I think
And all of them do it.
Yeah, well, the team itself averages, I want to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, 51, 51, and the next closest team is at like 43.
Right.
So you're always Celtics, and we might not like it, but that's what gives them the edge because they're gonna keep hawking them up.
Yeah, and they're going to probably make them. I know we see these losses and these close games, sometimes against teams that are much lower in the rankings than them, where you see them shooting, they're making the attempts, but ball's not going in. And you say live or die by the three, but the law of statistics, unfortunately, not the way I want to talk about basketball, but it proves out for the Celtics with the level of talent they have.
For Kristaps, the heel injury, I mean, he's injury prone. That's something we can confirm, but he said he doesn't think it's anything major after the game.
Yeah, so I was at practice yesterday, and Joe Mazzulla said that Kristaps was doing some shooting at practice. He's day-to-day right now. He was also in the weight room. So it's not like it's something that sounds like it's super concerning. And I will say it's the other foot. So it's not the leg that he had the surgery on that he was rehabbing back from most of the season. I think it's just the way that you go with Kristaps.
Yeah.
I love him, and I'm sure he wants to be out there, but they're also just going to be overly cautious with him, especially at this point in the season when it's December. Why are you going to push him against the Wizards? He played 11 minutes. Heel hurts. Get him out of there. Make sure that he's okay when the season and the seeding is really on the line.
Do you feel like there is any team that can give them trouble in a 7-game series? Because I don't feel like whether it's the Eastern Conference teams or the Western Conference teams, just looking at them and watching some of these, I don't think there's any team that I would even be concerned about losing in a 7-game series.
I think it'll be interesting. I'm not concerned about a loss, but I'm just interested to see how the Bucks progress as the season goes on. Because if you think about what happened last season, they bring Doc Rivers in at a point in the season when the team's not even really practicing at all. And he's trying to figure stuff out on game day to game day. You have Damian Lillard out there who's totally miserable. He's like giving quotes about how he comes home and plays video games and he had no idea Milwaukee was going to be as miserable as it was as a climate, and his family's not there, and that town, like Giannis, sounds like he wants to leave. I still don't, like, you could have something quirky happen there. I just don't think it's in the East.
Okay.
And so out of these teams out of the West, I told you, like, I'm afraid of the Thunder's defense. They're a really good defensive team.
But
you see them
series.
last night, and you're like, so you just outshoot them in a 7-game series.
And that's why when you look at some of these teams, I'm just like, unless somebody does something so crazy by the trade deadline, which is possible, I just don't see a team that can beat the Celtics in a 7-game series. Or
Chet Holmgren comes back and he looks completely transcendent for the Thunder, and all of a sudden you're like, damn, that's a much more real team. It's not just SGA, but it remains to be seen.
I am interested in your perspective on NBA ratings, which are in the toilet.
Yes.
Christmas was they owned Christmas. Now Netflix is giving them.
Jesus.
Going to give them a run for their money. Why do you think the ratings are down?
So I think it's pretty simple. And it's not the 3-point line, and it's not off-court causes or anything like that.
Politics.
Right. No, I don't think so. I think, and you can completely argue with me, like this is just my opinion, but they're down 28% through November 21st. At the same time, you have a $76 billion deal for TV rights for the NBA that just went through. It is a star-driven league. And I think you're in one of these cycles in the NBA where the stars that everybody knows, Curry, LeBron, Kevin Durant.
Does anybody know where LeBron is?
Where does he want to be?
He's dealing with something physically hurt.
He is?
That's what he tells us.
I see.
So the most notable stars are
physically running to a lawyer's office, or what is he doing?
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. I think he's waiting to get moved to Golden State.
Anyway, yeah.
Well, they're aging out of the league, and then you have this kind of like weird middle point where guys that you thought were maybe going to be a huge star, like Kawhi Leonard, have completely disappeared in terms of just a casual fan's consciousness. And then you have Jokic, Doncic, Giannis. And what I think you really need is just, I'm sorry, like you look at what's springboarded the WNBA into everyday conversation.
Drama.
Stars, Wiggy.
Stars.
Yeah. And the WNBA?
Yeah.
It's the drama.
It's 2 stars. It's Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese.
But
no one knows. People probably wouldn't be able to pick out Aja Wilson out of a lineup.
That's what I'm talking about, Wiggy. I think what people are really saying when they say the late 80s, early 90s, mid 90s were the best time for the NBA. And sometimes they talk about that as the style of play, as it wasn't so much 3-point shooting.
Well, that's
it was a rough
and
tumble league.
You don't think it has
anything to do? I think it all has to do with it.
It has to, 51 3-pointers a game. It's boring basketball.
Right, I think it's Wiggy, though. I think it is drama. All the guys are friends. Nobody actually hates each other anymore. There's no more rivalries.
There's no Bill Laimbeer.
Yeah, there's not.
What people are telling you when they say the late 80s to early mid 90s was the best basketball is they're saying that's when I knew the guys the most. And it goes into the drama. Right. That's when I knew the stars. I knew what teams they were on because the player empowerment movement has guys like Kyrie Irving bouncing around to 4 different teams.
Right.
It's not fun to follow. You don't form the same attachments.
But I would say this, though, about the ratings. We're moving this entire season. In Boston, the NBA Finals averaged a 17-7 over the 5 games they played against the Mavericks, which is lower than the Red Sox 1-game playoff in 2021. It is, I think, half the audience that was there in 2010 for the 7-game series against the Lakers.
But who they play in the 1-game series?
The Patriots this year are in the 20s.
Right, but who did the Red Sox play in the 1-game series?
It was the Yankees.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the drama.
Yes.
There's no drama in the NBA.
Wait. The NBA Finals. The Red Sox beat the Dodgers in 2018, a 5-game series where it was a blowout similar to the Mavericks. Boston on Fox did a 38 over those 5 games, 21 share points higher than those past one. And the Celtics Mavericks had a Super Bowl-like week-off buildup.
But there's no drama in Celtics Dallas Mavericks.
It's a championship.
It doesn't matter.
What's the drama with the Red Sox and the Dodgers?
Well, I think it wasn't Mookie Betts playing for the Dodgers?
Exactly.
No. Mookie Betts was on the Red Sox.
What?
In 2018.
2018. I'm sorry about that. I just think that
20 share points higher.
Right, but I think with the NBA, it's the lack of the drama. When I say the drama, it's like the rivalries. There's no, and you brought up the late 80s, early 90s. there was still, whether it was Jordan and the Bulls versus the Knicks, you threw the Pacers in there. There's just no, and I think you're right. These guys go everywhere, and then where's the real,
The drama is locally in Boston watching a team that's been close to winning a championship for the last
Curtis,
10 years try and break through.
No, you're missing the point. When you want to watch a series, you're like, Dallas, Celtics?
It's Boston, not this country. Boston, the city of Boston, did a 17-7 in the NBA Finals.
Because
there's a ton of drama. Everybody here was watching it, we thought, but they weren't.
But they weren't.
No, because even I think they're like, when you look at, even now with Boston, it's still
Kyrie Irving. That's a pretty big drama component.
But it wasn't like
but Kyrie was pretending to be nice.
Yeah,
and that was that wasn't fun.
So you guys would have said before that series, it's going to do a horrible rating on TV in Boston.
No, if Kyrie Irving would have said, you know what, I hate the damn Celtics. I hate everything about them.
It's the game.
No,
it's the way they play.
I think it's the personalities. I think it's the branding.
I would agree with
But
you.
NBA has the best branding. Like, they make every fan feels like they know them. I think that the NBA, when it comes to social media, is the forefront of how every league should be. Every league should look at the NBA and do exactly how they do.
I agree.
He's right to a degree. Nobody hates, you don't believe that they hate each other.
No.
So where's the beef?
Like the Celtics hated the Pistons.
Jalen and Giannis.
Or even
but
that interests you more. Even like the Celtics, the big three, right? It was always about Pierce versus LeBron. There was drama there, and so as Celtics fans or just basketball fans, they love that element of the game. Yeah, I get the three-pointer might have turned off some people, but the lack of, the rivalries, the lack of the superstars are there. Anthony Edwards is a superstar. Jason Tatum is a superstar. Jaylen Brown is a superstar. Luka Doncic, they are there, the superstars. But I just think it's everybody's kumbaya. There's no
I don't know.
But that doesn't explain it.
You don't know which one of them are going to be playing. Which
that's
game
a part of it too.
That's a part of it.
Mego,
There's so many games.
Have you seen any ratings, Mego, this year for NBC Sports Boston?
So I don't know about NBC Sports Boston in particular. The 28% down is
overall,
specifically this season up until November 21st.
Okay. Speaking of the year and is Celtics winning it all? In your mind, top Boston sports story of the year?
So, given the conversation that we just had, where I feel like nobody wants to talk about the Celtics now.
Drake May, is that
I think it's just
Bill going to college.
It's NFL. NFL has got to be the top always. So I think it's got to be Bill to UNC. That is just, to me, I wrote this last week, one of the more bizarre sports stories that I can remember outside of the courtroom. One of the more bizarre sports stories, because it's a guy who's trying to reinvent himself at 72. We just don't see that often. I compared it to Jordan going to play baseball in the prime of his career. Right. Bill's not in the prime of his career, but it's such a strange swerve that you look at it and you say, can anybody really reinvent themselves this way?
And that to her point with the Jordan, I would say either on the field, not in the courtroom, Bill and going to UNC is the biggest sports story that I would be like, whoa. Even bigger than
there's
Jordan.
Some recency bias there.
But it's still the greatest coach of all.
Drafting Drake May and what he's turned out to be is huge.
What's the biggest story? And you might be Mego, you might be right.
Red Sox re-signing Alex Cora? No. Okay.
When you talk about throughout sports history, through all of the sports, I don't think there's a
Joe Castiglione leaving.
No, not Joe.
Hall of Fame Joe.
I think it's Bill going to UNC and Jordan going to play baseball. You got the greatest coach of all time going to UNC after he's been coaching for 50 years in the NFL.
Right. One got blackballed by the owner, the other got blackballed by gambling.
And the greatest basketball player of all time during his era is going to play base. There are no bigger sports stories, in my opinion, than those two. And whether who's first or second, you could probably make the argument, but this is the biggest story we've seen in a long time.